what's happening here is Farage attempting now to construct a narrative that he is being targeted by the establishment. Sky News, the establishment, they're targeting his family, they're targeting him. This is becoming a witch hunt. And that, of course, would be perfect ground on which for Farage to fight these allegations against him, because he can distract from the actual allegations and have a fight about the establishment versus, the David and Goliath fight. He's David, Goliath is the establishment. But the reality is, assuming Sky haven't been targeting his family, the reality is actually Farage is part of the establishment.
Nigel Farage has been under intense pressure in recent weeks. First, there was news of a £5 million donation from a cryptocurrency billionaire. Then this weekend, the Sunday Times revealed he'd been supported by a convicted fraudster called George Cottrell. Cottrell had given Farage use of his house, security and social media support. None of this was declared to Parliament, even though the support was all given in the year before Farage became an MP. The rules say donations during that period must be declared, but Farage argues they were purely personal, that didn't need to be registered. The Reform leader doesn't want to answer questions on the subject. Here's a Sky News reporter speaking to the Reform UK leader in the airport on his way back from Independence Day celebrations in Washington.
Was it a mistake not to declare the gifts from George Cottrell, sir?
You tell your bosses you harass my family anymore, and I'll take you to serious consequences. That's what your organisation has done this morning. Go away.
Was it a mistake not to declare the gifts, sir?
Did you not hear me? You have broken all the rules, Leveson and everything else. Cut.
Sky News has said they've never tried to contact members of Nigel Farage's family. Now, some of you contacting us this morning are supporters of Nigel Farage, feeling the media has victimised him. We'd still like to ask the party about the issue of donations to Nigel Farage, but Reform UK has not agreed to an interview so far this week. It's only Tuesday, though, so we'll keep trying.
We can speak now to Ben Habib. He was Deputy Leader of Reform UK until July 2024, when he was removed and replaced by Richard Tice. Habib then left Reform UK and formed his own party called Advance UK. He has repeatedly criticised Nigel Farage. For his part, Farage says Ben Habib is bitter and twisted. Well, Ben, welcome to the programme.
Good morning. I'm neither bitter nor twisted.
Well, I include that because I think it's important for people to have the context of the relationship between yourself and Nigel Farage, because we are going to talk about him. And the reason partly I would like to get your view is that you know him pretty well and you understand him better than most people. And as I say, to our listeners, we have invited Nigel Farage on the programme and anyone from Reform UK. But his response that you heard there in that clip to interviewers shows that he has been deeply upset and clearly feels that the reporting and the treatment of him is unjustifiable. Do you agree?
Well, I can't comment. I obviously can't comment on whether or not Sky News tried to approach his family. Of course, if they tried to approach his family, that would have been wrong.
They say they haven't, just for clarity's sake.
Well, yeah, sorry, forgive me, something went wrong with my camera there a second. But, if they say they haven't, and you take that at face value, then I suspect what's happening here is Farage attempting now to construct a narrative that he is being targeted by the establishment. Sky News, the establishment, they're targeting his family, they're targeting him. This is becoming a witch hunt. And that, of course, would be perfect ground on which for Farage to fight these allegations against him, because he can distract from the actual allegations and have a fight about the establishment versus, the David and Goliath fight. He's David, Goliath is the establishment. But the reality is, assuming Sky haven't been targeting his family, the reality is actually Farage is part of the establishment. He is now surrounded by billionaires. The 5 million quid donation he got was from a crypto billionaire living in Thailand. He was, I think, flown to the World Economic Forum courtesy of a former Iranian billionaire, now a billionaire living in the United Kingdom. When he went to Abu Dhabi, he met an Indian billionaire. When he went to the World Economic Forum, he rubbed shoulders with all the kinds of people that he said in the past he would denounce. So Farage is absolutely part of the establishment now. And the narrative of David versus Goliath, I'm afraid, to any sentient being will not stick.
And is this part of the next stage of Reform UK, which is going from being a sort of plucky outsider party, challenging those who have been established for a long time, and trying to become something which is credible and could well lead a government in this country? Is what we're seeing here part of that difficult stage?
Well, I think what you're seeing here is something that has beset Nigel Farage for decades. Controversy, particularly around money, and him have gone hand in hand, haven't they? When he was in the European Parliament, there were a number of investigations into how he handled his money when he bought that house in Clacton, or he said he bought that house in Clacton, and then it transpired that it was actually his partner that bought the house. We still don't have clarity on that. He said he wasn't politically active in the 12 months before he became an MP, but actually he was receiving £5 million donations, apparently as a gift. It hardly... again, any sentient being would question whether 5 million quid is a gift or aiming at something more than that. This kind of controversy and Nigel Farage are historically linked. And I think you're not seeing the growing pains of a party going from being nascent into an established broad spectrum party. What you're seeing are inherent problems with Farage.
Do you think he might walk away, Ben Habib?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question obviously only he can answer. What I can't understand is why Farage keeps saying that he wasn't politically active in the 12 months prior to becoming an MP, this crucial period that's in which he would have been required by Parliament to register these interests. Because he was politically active. He was the major shareholder in and director of Reform UK. He literally controlled the fastest growing political party in the United Kingdom. And he says he wasn't politically active. You can't be a controller of a political party and simultaneously not be active in politics. So the 12-month period prior to being elected as an MP was a crucial period from a parliamentary perspective. But the other thing, Kate, that people aren't picking up on is that Farage is a regulated donee under Electoral Commission rules. That means that every single donation that he received that was in excess of the Electoral Commission threshold, which I think is about a couple of thousand quid, from 2019 until he started making declarations, which he only first started making when he was elected as an MP, that entire period should have required him to make declarations to the Electoral Commission on donations he's received.
And this,
and not a single donation has been declared by him to the Electoral Commission.
And this, just to sort of, I suppose, pose the Reform UK perspective here, this is the distinction in that you are talking about political donations, and what Nigel Farage's team say is that this money was a personal gift. They're not calling it a donation, they're calling it a personal gift, which was not related to political activity, and therefore they say does not need to be declared. I suppose the distinction here is whether or not, because there is a clause in the parliamentary rules which say that it's about the perception. So it's not just about your perception, but it's about the public's perception of whether the public might view that money and think, well, hang on a minute, that looks like a political donation, even if you don't think it is. And that's really where this story hangs at the moment. Ben, it's great to have you with us. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is Ben Habib there. We have asked Reform UK if they want to come on the programme. The offer is open. It's a long-standing one. And we do hear from Reform UK from time to time. I think Richard Tice joined us last week or the week before.
He did last week.
So it's always great to have people on the programme, and we have put to them the opportunity to do that.
Some people are supportive of Farage, some people not. Gary says Farage is too thin-skinned to make it to the next election under scrutiny from the left and outflanked by Lowe on the right. He'll walk away. Someone here says turning his ire on the media is straight out of the Trump playbook. Some people are supportive because they genuinely believe in Farage as an agent of change. Some people who support Farage are on the headbang side of the equation. Someone accusing us of being the Zionist media.
Well, there is some stuff which verges on, anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic kind of tropes about global elites and people controlling the world and, all kinds of things.
There's the headbang element, which you can't pretend doesn't exist. And you can see them marshalled on social media. They're marshalling themselves on our WhatsApp groups this morning. But it's an interesting point, though, because just because people shout loudly doesn't mean that scrutiny is unacceptable. And I think the nature of politics means, in my view at least, that you have to accept scrutiny. And the Sunday Times, again, we're Times Radio, we support the Times and the Sunday Times, we would say this, wouldn't we? They do really good journalism with really good journalists because they go after stories in the public interest. I think looking into Farage's financial background and who he hangs out with and who he takes money from is clearly in the public interest.